When we talk about investing in our future, it often sounds like a vague, far-off concept, something to worry about later, something abstract. But let's get one thing straight. Your future is not an accident waiting to happen. It's a result waiting to be shaped. And the truth is, the future you wake up to 5, 10, 20 years from now will be built on the small, deliberate choices you make today. Not tomorrow, today. Now we live in a world where it's easy to believe that things should come fast. Instant results, quick returns, but real growth, lasting success rarely works that way. If you look at anyone who has built something meaningful, whether it's a career, a company, a family, or a life of impact, you'll find a common thread, a willingness to make long-term decisions, even when the payoff isn't immediate, especially when it isn't immediate. That's the mindset we need to adopt. We have to stop seeing investment as something limited to financial portfolios. Investment is every moment you spend improving your craft, every ounce of energy you put into your relationships, every book you read that challenges your assumptions. It's how you spend your time when no one's watching. It's the habits you're building in silence that will eventually speak louder than anything you could say. You don't need to be in a boardroom to think like an investor. Every one of us is investing right now. You're either investing in your future self or you're borrowing time from them. And make no mistake, the future will send you the bill. That might sound harsh, but it's the kind of honesty that matters, because there is no neutral zone when it comes to personal growth. You're either moving forward or you're slowly slipping back. Think about the daily decisions we often overlook. Hitting snooze one more time instead of getting up to work out. Scrolling through feeds instead of spending time with a loved one. Putting off learning a new skill because it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient. None of these choices will destroy your life in a single moment, but over time they build patterns. And those patterns either compound into progress, or they quietly erode the foundation you hope to stand on someday. And that's the key, compound impact. Just like compound interest grows small investments into something significant over time, so do your actions. A single hour spent learning every day may not look like much, but in a year, that's 365 hours. That's enough time to learn a language, understand a new industry, or completely reframe how you think. Small doesn't mean insignificant. Small means scalable. And when you multiply small, smart choices over time, you get transformation. But let's also acknowledge something else. It's hard. It's hard to keep showing up for a future you can't yet see. It's hard to keep believing in a version of yourself that hasn't materialized. That's why so many people settle. They live reactively instead of proactively. They wait for change instead of initiating it. But if you want a different outcome, you have to start with a different mindset. You have to be willing to delay gratification, resist distractions, and make peace with discomfort. That's where real growth lives. One of the most empowering moments in anyone's life is when they realize they're not passengers, they're drivers. You may not control every external factor, but you always control how you respond, how you prepare, and how you invest in yourself. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for ideal conditions. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is now. This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. Every day doesn't have to be a masterpiece. But if each day moves you an inch closer to the life you want, those inches add up. What matters is that you're intentional. Because the difference between where you are and where you want to be is often just a series of consistent, purposeful steps. So ask yourself, what choices are you making today that your future self will thank you for? And what are you putting off that you already know deep down you can't afford to ignore any longer? If you take only one thing from this, let it be this: your future doesn't begin someday. It begins now. When we talk about the future, we often picture the end result where we want to be, the lifestyle we want to live, the impact we want to have. But we don't talk enough about the bridge that gets us there, and that bridge is learning. Education and skill development aren't just tools for career advancement, they are lifelines. They are how we stay relevant, resilient, and empowered in a world that refuses to stand still. We're living in a time of exponential change. Technology, markets, industries, everything is evolving faster than ever. What used to be considered a stable career path can be disrupted in a matter of months. The skills that made you valuable yesterday might not hold the same weight tomorrow. So the question isn't, am I smart enough? The real question is, am I learning fast enough? We have to move beyond the outdated idea that education ends with a degree. The truth is, the moment you stop learning is the moment you start falling behind. The most successful people I've seen aren't the ones who knew the most from the beginning. They're the ones who stayed curious, who stayed open, who committed to learning when it was no longer mandatory. But let's be honest, continuous learning doesn't always come naturally. Life gets busy. The urgency of the moment often drowns out the importance of growth. We put off that course, skip the reading, avoid asking questions that might make us look like we don't have it all figured out. But here's what I've learned. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. And the willingness to be a beginner over and over again is what separates those who thrive from those who just survive. One of the most powerful shifts we can make is moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, believing that our abilities, our intelligence, our potential are not set in stone, but expandable. That our future isn't defined by what we know today, but by how committed we are to learning tomorrow. Because if you're not learning, you're not evolving. And if you're not evolving, you're becoming obsolete. We need to think of learning as a daily discipline, not a one-time achievement. Just like we brush our teeth or check our emails, we should be feeding our minds every single day. That could mean reading a book, listening to a podcast, shadowing someone whose experience stretches yours, or even just asking better questions. Curiosity should be your default setting, not a rare exception. It's also important to recognize that skill building isn't only about acquiring technical know-how. Yes, learning to code, mastering a new tool, or understanding data are important. But so are emotional intelligence, empathy, creativity, and communication. In a world powered by AI and automation, what will truly set you apart is your ability to think critically, connect deeply, and adapt quickly. These are the human skills often overlooked, but deeply transformative. What I find inspiring is that the tools to grow have never been more accessible. We carry libraries in our pockets, entire courses, communities, and mentors are just a click away, but access alone isn't the answer. Commitment is, discipline is. You have to make learning a priority, not a side project. You have to carve out time for it, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. We also need to get rid of the illusion that you need everything figured out before you begin. The best way to learn is by doing. By experimenting, by failing fast and adjusting faster. No one builds mastery in theory, you build it in motion. You build it by showing up day after day, chipping away at something that challenges you, stretches you, forces you to grow. And here's the real reward. When you invest in your learning, you're not just upgrading your resume. You're expanding your freedom. You're giving yourself more options, more confidence, more agency. You're creating a version of yourself that can thrive in uncertainty instead of being crushed by it. That's the future we all deserve, not just one where we survive change, but where we are equipped to lead it. Because in the end, it's not about knowing everything, it's about being ready for anything. We spend so much time planning for success, building careers, chasing milestones. And while all of that matters, there's one truth we often overlook. None of it is sustainable without our health. I'm not just talking about being free from illness. I'm talking about being energized, focused, and mentally present. Because your physical and mental well-being is the foundation on which everything else is built. You can have the best ideas in the world, the most promising opportunities, the strongest ambition. But if you're constantly exhausted, overwhelmed, or burned out, none of that will matter in long run. We're conditioned to think of health as something we can address when we have time, something we can manage after the deadline, after the promotion, after we hit our goals. But the truth is, by the time your body or mind forces you to stop, it's often already too late. And what's even more important to understand is that investing in your health isn't about stepping away from ambition, it's about fueling it. Taking care of yourself isn't a distraction from your goals. It's what gives you the strength and clarity to achieve them. We live in a culture that rewards hustle, that praises the ability to power through. But let's pause for a second. What are we actually powering through? Sleep deprivation, anxiety, constant stress. There's a difference between resilience and recklessness. Pushing yourself beyond your limb, it's every single day, isn't a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. It's your body and mind telling you they're being treated like machines. And even machines need maintenance. There's an undeniable link between well-being and performance. When you feel good physically, you show up differently. You think more clearly, you make better decisions, you collaborate more effectively. When your mind is steady and your emotions are balanced, you lead with purpose instead of reaction. And the people around you notice. Teams mirror the energy of their leaders. Families absorb the mood of their anchors. If you want to create a strong environment around you, it starts with the state you're in within yourself. This is why I believe health has to be non-negotiable. It's not something we squeeze into the cracks of our day. It's something we build our day around. That means prioritizing sleep, even when the to-do list feels endless. It means fueling our bodies with food that supports energy and focus, not just convenience. It means moving, whether through exercise or simply walking, because our bodies were designed for motion, not stagnation. But physical health is only part of the equation. Mental health is just as critical, and in many ways, even more easily neglected. We live in a hyper-connected world, but isolation has never been more common. The pressure to appear constantly composed, constantly in control, leads many people to suppress their struggles until they become crises. And the cost of silence is steep. High performance can't be sustained when the mind is under siege. It takes strength to pause, it takes clarity to seek help, and it takes real courage to be honest with yourself about how you're doing, not just professionally, but personally, emotionally. And here's the good news. The moment you start prioritizing mental wellness, everything else begins to improve. Your creativity expands, your focus sharpens, your relationships deepen, because when you're grounded, you're more than just productive, you're fully present. We also need to create environments where it's safe to talk about well-being. Whether it's in the workplace or at home, we should normalize conversations about stress, burnout, and mental health the same way we talk about strategy and execution. When we support each other not just as colleagues, but as human beings, we build cultures that are not only hyper-forming, but deeply sustainable. And let's not ignore the role of recovery. Just as an athlete can't train every hour of every day, none of us can operate at our best without rest. Breaks are not a luxury, they're a necessity. Whether it's 5 minutes to breathe, an hour to disconnect, or a weekend to recharge, recovery is how we stay in the game. Without it, we may achieve short bursts of success, but we won't be able to maintain it. And in today's world, sustained impact matters more than momentary wins. So when we say invest in your future, we cannot separate that from investing in your health, because your life doesn't move forward on ambition alone. It moves forward on energy, on clarity, on presence. And the only way to maintain those things is by protecting and nurturing the one asset that truly powers it all. One of the most important forms of investment you can make in your future, and one of the most overlooked, is learning how to manage your money. Financial literacy is not about becoming an expert in markets or memorizing stock charts. It's about understanding how money works, how to make it work for you, and how to use it to create options, freedom, and peace of mind. Because when you don't understand money, it ends up controlling you. But when you do, it becomes a tool you can use to build the life you want. We often separate financial well-being from the rest of our personal growth journey, as if money is somehow less worthy of thoughtful attention. But the reality is, money touches every part of our lives. It shapes the opportunities we can access, the risks we can take, the time we can dedicate to our passions, and the legacy we leave behind. And whether we realize it or not, every one of us is making financial decisions every single day. Some big, some small, but all of them add up. And if we're making those decisions without clarity, without awareness, or without a plan, the consequences catch up faster than we think. What's even more striking is that most people are never formally taught how to manage their money. We learn math in school, but we're rarely taught how to budget, how to invest, how to navigate debt, or how to prepare for unexpected setbacks. And because of that, so many people go through life in financial uncertainty, not because they're incapable, but because they were never given the tools. That's not just unfair, it's dangerous. In today's world, financial literacy isn't a luxury, it's self-defense. Now, financial literacy doesn't mean you need to become a millionaire. It doesn't mean you need to chase wealth for its own sake. It means taking control of your financial story, understanding what comes in, what goes out, and how to make intentional choices about both. It means learning the basics, how to save, how to budget, how to avoid toxic debt, and how to build a cushion for the future. These may sound like simple ideas, but the impact they have over time is massive. Because the truth is, money is not just a currency. It's a form of energy. It amplifies what's already there. If you're prepared, money gives you leverage. It gives you options. It allows you to say yes to the right things and no to the wrong ones. It gives you the confidence to take a risk on a new project, to support someone you love, or to walk away from situations that don't align with your values. But if you're not prepared, that same money, or the lack of it, can become a constant source of anxiety, a barrier to growth, a limitation on your choices. One of the most empowering decisions you can make is to live with intention, not just in how you spend your time, but in how you spend and manage your money. That means being honest with yourself about what you value. It means setting goals and building toward them gradually. It means saying no to things that feel good in the moment, but take you further away from where you really want to be. And most of all, it means realizing that financial freedom isn't about having everything, it's about needing less and choosing wisely. Let's not ignore the role that technology now plays in this. Today, we have more access than ever to tools, resources, and platforms that can help us track our spending, automate our savings, and invest in our future. But access is only half the equation. The other half is discipline. It's the daily habit of checking in, adjusting course, and staying committed. Just like learning a skill or taking care of your health, financial wellness doesn't come from a single big decision. It comes from small, smart ones made consistently over time. And while you're doing that, while you're building that financial awareness, remember that the goal is not just to accumulate. The goal is to be free. Free to make choices that align with your values. Free to focus on what matters most to you. Free to live without the constant weight of worry hanging over every decision. That kind of freedom doesn't arrive overnight. But it starts the moment you decide to take control. Because ultimately, when you invest in your financial literacy, you're not just building a better bank account. You're building a stronger, more secure version of yourself. One that doesn't wait for opportunities but creates them.